Good afternoon, America, the greatest country where hope springs eternal. Today's topic is living with purpose, and we have a star-studded lineup for you today, and can't wait to get the conversation going. Our guest today, first up from the NFL, an NFL Hall of Famer. He was drafted by the New England Patriots. He won the Super Bowl with the Los Angeles Raiders and was voted the 22nd greatest player in the history of the NFL. Please welcome cornerback Mike Haynes.
Thank you, John. I'm really looking forward to this meeting.
Also with us today, we have the co-founder of Peloton, host of the Defining Success podcast, a coach, a consultant, an inspiring human being who's all about connection and purpose-driven living. Please welcome Marion Roman.
Thanks, John. So honored to be here. And thank you so much.
Also with us today is the Director of Strength and Conditioning for the Marine Corps headquarters, which is part of the Warrior Athlete Readiness and Resilience Program. He's all about making hard-charging Marines. Please welcome Nick Garonias. I probably butchered your name, sorry.
A little bit of butchering. It's Nick and ours, but yeah, thanks. Appreciate it.
Gunaris, right?
Yes.
All right, sorry about that. That's my total bad. I'm really good. I have a history of butchering names on this show, so you're in good company. And last but not least, I always like having someone who is an example of what we talk about and all around good role model for those out there who might be struggling with their life. You've seen him on the show before from the United States Army. Please welcome Juan Alcivar.
Hey, thank you for having me again. I appreciate it. And I'm honored and humbled to be here with all these great people.
Yeah, don't sell yourself short, even though you have a Jets hat on. All right. So as we get started here, I'm going to start with Mike, since it is Super Bowl week, and we got the big game coming up on Sunday. Who do you like, Mike? You got the Patriots, your old team, playing. What do you think?
Well, I'm sure everybody would guess what I think. I'm rooting for the AFC, and you know I'm rooting for the Patriots.
Hey.
Yeah, we wouldn't have it any other way. So as we get into the discussion with living with purpose, we all have different levels of success and different levels of motivation. A lot of time in Life Aid, we talk about mindset, we talk about motivation, we talk about mission. So I'm going to start with Mike again, because Super Bowl week. Like when you were coming up in your early days, like after college, what do you think was the biggest challenge that you faced coming into the NFL as a first-round draft choice? And what did you do, or what was the atmosphere like that? What was your mindset like that helped you succeed?
Well, I loved football, so I watched a lot of NFL games. And so it was amazing to now realize that I was going to be playing against these guys, like Joe Namath. Are you kidding? I'm going to be, covering his wide receivers and maybe have a chance to make some plays against the great guys that I knew. I really looked forward to it. So I worked hard at it. Our defensive coordinator, who was an expert and knew everything about every team in our conference and in our division, I spent a lot of time asking a lot of questions to all the veteran players, all the former players, and I love studying film. And so, in college, I didn't study that much in college. Didn't have to, because I was going to school. I had to get my grades, and so we would study whenever the coaches had meetings. That was about it. But in the pros, I got a lot of spare time. And so I would go get film and take it home and look at it. But I don't really know. I'm just looking at film. And then one day, one of the guys who went to my college, a guy named Prentice McCrae, who was also in the secondary of New England, I said, man, I don't really understand how to study for these games. I don't know how to prepare for it. So he said, let's wait after practice and I'll show you how to do it. And so we did that, and I started learning. And then I started asking the linebackers and asking the linemen different questions like, what do you guys study? What do you guys know? And so my education was huge. And so the first half of the year of my career, really, I was studying all the time. I looked forward to playing with these guys that I knew their names. I watched them on Monday night. I watched them on Sundays, and I really looked forward to playing. I couldn't wait for the games. I loved playing in the games, and I was in good health. I had a good mindset, and I knew that our defense was a real good defensive line, good linebackers, good coaching. So I was really looking forward to it.
May
That's
I ask a
awesome.
question?
Sure.
So I'm a coach. So I coach volleyball, and I'm a football fan, of course. And I played football. And I love that you said that you were asking a lot of questions. And for me as a coach, I like players like that. And you need those type of players, because you went in and then started asking players, the linebackers, because you're all a unit, and you're all in a way doing a sequence dance. But you have to understand what this person knows and what that person knows, and how important is just talking and even just looking at the linebacker and giving them a signal. How important is that, especially in your career and playing at the highest level? Because at the highest level, it's seconds, right? Like you have
It's
seconds to
seconds.
make.
Yeah, but in the meetings, what I learned in the meetings is that other guys didn't ask questions. They didn't ask questions. And I think it was because they were afraid that everyone would know that they don't know the answer. They should know the answer.
Let's go, yes.
But remember this, I was a first round draft pick. I was a fifth player drafted into the NFL. So when I asked a question, I didn't get worried about not making the team because I'm asking questions. And so the coach would answer my question. He would try to say it in a way that I wouldn't continue asking questions, but I kept asking questions. I'm saying, Coach, can you run that play back again? See how that guy's going up inside and he's doing that. He's blocking, and then he's coming out. I said, and then he would say, yeah, Mike. He hated answering my questions, but there was no way that I was going to go on the football field without knowing these answers. And so I just kept asking, and later the guys would say, Mike, I'm so glad that you're on our team, man.
Wow.
Because now we're getting more information. It's really helping our defense.
Well, one of the things that I wanted to talk about today is there's a lot of conversation about human performance at the elite athlete level, like yourself in the NFL. And then there's also the elite athlete performance in the military. So Nick, that's your specialty. So I'd like to throw that to you. And what kind of similarities and differences do you see between those different types of groups in terms of human performance?
Yeah, so I cut my teeth originally as a collegiate strength and conditioning coach, and I predominantly worked with football and basketball. So a lot of what guides the training from a tactical standpoint we take from performance in sports, high level training. So I work specifically for the Marine Corps, and we have to look at like the mission set. What is the mission set of this specific unit or the Marine Corps as a whole? So you need to be fast, right? Because the faster you are, the less likely you are to get shot. You need to be strong because you're going to be rucking under load. So we need to make sure that you can handle heavier loads. And you need to be really, really, really fit. The more aerobically fit you are, the longer you can go, the better you can recover. Everything is better with aerobic fitness. And that is similar to what we have in sports. The difference is I know the average football play is going to be anywhere from 2 to 4 seconds. And if we have an up-tempo offense, then I know that we're going to try and get to the line in 15 seconds and run a play by 18 seconds. So I can create a specific conditioning plan or a specific performance program that will facilitate for that specific team. Whereas in a tactical setting, it's about managing the unknown. So we have to try and make sure that everybody in the services is kind of good at everything. right? We have to be fit. You have to be strong relative to your body weight. You have to be fast so we can try and not get shot. You have to have all of these different components of performance. So how a strength and conditioning coach like myself does that is we take what works. And man, can you get football players fast? Can you take a cornerback like Mike and get him real fast? So we take some of the velocity-based training that we would do with the football team, and then we integrate it in the context of the tactical setting. Everything has to be nestled in the tactical setting, because the time it would take for me to get Juan when he was in the Army to try and get as fast as Mike, nothing against him, but we would have to train for 3 years. So
I'm down.
So the idea is we use some of the training that we would do with Mike to get him as fast as we can, but I'm not going to give as much of that to Juan. I just need him to get a little bit faster. I don't need him to, on a punt return, be able to run a 4.40 and go score. I just need him to get faster. So we take kind of the big picture, the performance mindset that we use in sports, and then we integrate that and nestle it in the tactical setting.
And Marion, you made a whole business out of taking human performance and bringing it to the everyday person.
Yeah.
So talk a little bit about that. And what was that process like, and how did that come together?
Yeah, well, it's so interesting to hear all of you sharing, because for the everyday person, all they want is to be training at the level that you're all talking about, right? Like it's in the walls of group exercise studios, like train like an athlete, train like you mean it. And so to your point, John, we brought through group exercise in brick and mortar, we started by just bringing like-minded people together was sort of the base of it. Bringing like-minded people together was really key, because they helped one another to strive for this greatness, to just get to start sort of the base level of training, and whatever that may have been. At the time, it was indoor cycling. And then, once they were in it together, we were able to actually make change in these people's lives. But that was a really big key component of it. So when it came time to Peloton, when we launched Peloton, and we were able to now bring this idea of like-minded people training together, but actually virtually and beyond just the brick and mortar space, it was really clear that a big driving force and helping bring like the common person to this mindset of getting fit was a key component, was community, and helping them find like-minded people with obviously a trainer at the head of it. That's like a really big component of it. Accountability.
And so Juan, I see you shaking your head, and I was going to throw it to you anyway, because as you were in the Army, so you had training that you had to do. You obviously were successful in completing basic training. You go off to war, you get shot, and then you're in a hospital, and then I'll let you take it from there.
So yes, so it's in a sense like going 100 miles an hour and then hitting a brick wall, and then your body, your mind still wants to go fast, but your body can't go. And then from there, getting shot and then having to go through rehab, and the food and everything is totally different. Then I got big. I was at 350 pounds. Then all I was thinking is like, okay, I can't. It's almost like I was talking to somebody today. It's you something happens, like a traumatic injury like that, and it feels like your body and your just consciousness separate, and you don't have control of your body anymore. I right now feel like I've gotten control of my body again. Like I can actually feel my body. I feel weighted, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
When you get an injury, it feels like you're not the person you were, and you're trying to get back to that. And that's what I think that was my disconnection, is that I was trying to get back to the person I was before I got shot.
Mm-hmm.
And then I now slowly started realizing, it's like, no, I have to do my new normal. And even it was you, John, coming in there and telling me, get on this bike and just go. Sometimes you just need somebody to just kick you in the ass. Like you get somebody like Nick that just hey, I work with the Marines and everything. Like, if we had that in the Army and saying like, oh, we're gonna actually bring an actual person that have trained people like Mike in the NFL and stuff like that to train these soldiers to be like, hey, we're gonna train you like athletes. I think that's where we would benefit a lot more, because then we can then start understanding our body and understanding what we're trying to do in the mission statement, so then we know, okay, we're prepared. And I like what Nick does, and I agree with what Mike said. And then with Maureen,
Marion.
Marion was talking about the regular person. And yes, in the gym, when I'm at the gym, you hear it all the time. And people are like, I want to come in and I want to train like an athlete. Yes, I'm out of shape right now, but I want to feel like, I don't just want to go in there, do a little weight and do it. I want to feel like I put everything out there. And I want to train like somebody like Mike, because yes, am I going to get to the Super Bowl? Maybe, but but I never
Not
say
if you're
no.
on the
I never say
Jets.
no. You never know.
You
It
never
might be
know.
some way. But the thing is, I want to go and train. I want to go and do that. And I feel that with what you've been pushing, John, and what we all come together as this collective and put out there, it's what we want to do. We enjoy this. We were talking about earlier, being in the kitchen, and then, like, you get put into these jobs that you're just stuck in this little, like, in the kitchen and everything. You got to do it, but you love the going outdoors, getting on the bike, getting on the football field, getting on the volleyball court, just being active again. I think that we always draw back to that, because it makes us feel like we're whole.
Mm-hmm.
Go ahead, Nick.
So to add, I think I can add some layers to the thing that Juan was saying. So when you start looking at what a strength and conditioning coach does, and Mike might be able to discuss it too, we're going to provide you with a science-based program for the X's and O's of the training. We're going to hit you with the most up-to-date research. We're going to give you the best programming. But a major component, and this is probably another conversation about AI and technology, that can never replace the person, is a strength and conditioning coach by trade is also there to create culture.
Right.
That piece of technology, or that coach who's running a Peloton class, is going to demand the culture to be built. And for me, it's, if we're doing sprints and I tell you your foot's behind the line, your foot better be behind the line. And if it's not, from a military standpoint, that means a Marine could have failed on a detail and they could kill somebody or get themselves killed. And then in a sports setting, hey man, if your foot's on the line, you're offsides, you just cost us 5 yards. It was 3rd and 2. Now we got a first down. So it creates problems. So that's something that not just the training component, but having a person there who is a expert and who is aware of the cultural side of how we're trying to enhance. I think you really get that with people. You need those people there.
Yeah.
Well,
I bet you that's where pro football got that information. I bet it started with the military.
Yeah.
Like me as a defensive guy in college, I just knew my role. I'm the corner, or I'm a free safety. I knew what I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
But when I got to the pros, I knew what everybody on the defense was supposed to do. Every single position.
Mm.
And so when we looked at film and we got a new player, I could be a defensive tackle, defensive end, a linebacker. When we're standing on the sideline, I could tell him anything he needed to know. So, and I'm a freaking rookie. You know what I mean? I'm a rookie. And so by the time I, was in the league for several years, now I feel really more comfortable. I feel more like a coach. I could help everybody. And so I'd also realized that we are faced with certain different things. And so I need to go improve my training. So the next time, if we come into that situation, I'll be better. And I think that's really what helped me make, all pro and make the Pro Bowls and stuff like that. And I'm not sure every team has that type of situation that coaches do the same thing. I have no idea. I really have never.
We don't. Trust me, we don't.
Okay.
Well,
The
Nick,
Jets
Nick
are not.
brought up Nick brought up something that well, we know the Jets don't have a culture except for losing. As a former football coach, and I ran a fairly successful professional cycling team for many years. I think culture is you don't win without culture, without a good culture. I've never seen a team win the Super Bowl with bad culture. And so you can look at the teams that are in the Super Bowl right now. You look at the Patriots, you look at the Seahawks, and both of those head coaches, you can tell they've built a culture that all the players have bought into. And you can tell then, and you all right there, Juan?
Yeah, I'm good.
Okay.
Yeah.
They bought into that culture.
I'm doing calf races. I'm sorry. I'm doing calf races while I'm doing this. I apologize.
Don't fall down. We'll get into injury prevention in a minute, but
Nick, help.
But I was going to ask, since Nick brought up culture, I was also going to say the other thing that's a common denominator between the military and especially football is mental resilience. Like, you can't play in the NFL without mental resilience. You can't be a Marine without mental resilience. I'm fairly fortunate because I'm one of the few that's been a college football player, went to OCS for the Marine Corps, and was a professional cyclist. So I can say that mental resilience is a common theme among those particular things. And so what do you say to that? Well, how do you guys bring in that into your culture? Because it is warrior readiness and resilience.
So from a war, our programming standpoint, one thing that we have to do and never lose sight of is integrating not just the civilian, but pulling in the green side. So the green side is what we'll call our active duty. So the Marine Corps is something that's the culture of the Marine Corps is different than any other branch. So what we try and do is align with what that vision is. And one of the things that we've promoted in our new push out of this war program, when we rewrote it in our policy, is Marines lead from the front. If you as a commander want your Marines to buy into you, then you have to go and you have to do it, and you have to be in front of your Marines and you have to lead from the front. So that's one of the big pushes when we start talking about culture. And what I want my strength and conditioning coaches to do is they need to get out and they need to do Marine Corps stuff. The first installation I worked at was the School of Infantry East, and it's a secondary school after boot camp. And I was saying I'm a strength and conditioning coach. I played college football. I used to box. I did all this stuff. And nobody cared until I put a ruck on and went out and rucked with them. And then nobody cared till I went and PT'd with them. Nobody cared until I beat them in PT. So with that said, from a cultural standpoint, we align with what the Marine Corps culture is, which is lead from the front. So I need my coaches out in the field to go do Marine Corps stuff, be fit, be strong, be resilient. And then the Marines inevitably fall in line with that. And to provide one caveat too is I love getting this out, is embrace the suck. So that's one of the things the Marine Corps is very good at, is when things suck, they come together. So from a PT standpoint, it's our job to do it intelligently, and we can still enhance performance and do it in the lens of performance, but we give them opportunities to embrace the suck together. And when you tie that and you're able to do it with them, that's really how you can create a successful culture of training in the Marine Corps, in our facilities, with our program.
I agree 100%. I agree 100% with that. In the Army, we needed it. In coaching volleyball, it's the same thing. And I even bring it to saying, like, you have to have, like you said, the leaders first. If you don't have the leaders first and you don't see somebody doing it, it doesn't matter. He came in saying, I was a boxer. We don't care. Nobody cares. You can go to an NFL team and be like, yeah, I benched 300 pounds. They're like, all right, well, put some pads on and let's go. Yeah. Until you get on the court, until you get out there, nobody's going to say. John could have came to me and said, hey, get on this bike. But until I saw him get on, and it didn't make any sense, because if I didn't, well, why am I going to get on a bike if you're not on a bike? You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
Well, there's different types of leaders, right? There's leaders that lead by example, which is what I try to do. And then there's other kinds of like vocal or rah leaders. And then there's the quiet leaders that just go about and set a tone. And you can have all the different types of leaders, but I definitely believe that leading by example is a great way to do it. You know, if you want people to work hard, you got to be the guy that's the first guy that shows up. You know, if you're like, well, we talk, you know, the first time you and I went riding, I went with you, you know, and got you going. And I think that's important. And Mike and I were talking the other day about, you know, how you earn your stripes and earn that respect and earn that leadership. Like what's the first drill you do the first day you put pads on in the summer, Mike?
It's the same kind of drills that you do without pads. So we work on your back pedal and your cutting, and you know, and then you work up to doing tackling drills, and you don't start really tackling. It's like form tackling. So they teach you how to walk up and, you know, wrap around and take a step with the guy, and then later we do it full speed. So, you know, that was really good. I'm glad coaches learned to coach that way, because a lot of guys probably would not play football if they got embarrassed, you know, not doing a good job, and they would go do another sport. But we knew exactly how to do it, and we worked at it, and I enjoyed it. I mean, I wasn't a tackler until I got probably into my sophomore year. My freshman year, whenever I knew I had to tackle a running back coming through, because I was a free safety as a freshman, I had to tackle a big running back coming through there. Man, I would be getting myself so psyched up, you know, because I didn't want to get hurt, you know. So I'd hit him
as a defensive end, our coaches used to say that we had to tackle the running back on the sweep because the cornerback was going to run for the sideline. So,
oh, well, I was big. You know, a lot of, you know, when I first came into college, our cornerbacks were not really big guys. You know, they weren't they didn't weigh 190 or 200. They weighed like 175. And so I was 190, and by the time I graduated, I was 198, you know. So I was a big corner, and I didn't think I was strong, but I got stronger. By the time I was a senior, I was squatting 500 pounds, full squat, man.
$5 bills, baby, $5 bills.
Oh my God.
Unbelievable. And we had a guy named John Cole, who was our strength coach, and he was one of the strongest guys in the country. And we were so proud to have him. All of our guys on our team were super strong while he was there. And he left and started his own business. But the guys who were there when he was there, we continued to do those exercises. And that helped me when I got to the NFL. I got to the NFL, I go to the weight room. How many guys do you think would be in there with me? Three? Linebackers. They'd be linebackers. The linemen would, I don't know when they came in to work out. I have no idea. But I was in there all the time. And, you know, my free time before I left, if I think about how I practiced that day, and I realized, hey, if this week I got this wide receiver, he's big, so I better have my shoulders strong. So this week I need to do all these other exercises to make sure that I can hit him hard and use all my strength and do really well in the game. So, you know, the best thing that ever happened to me was going to Arizona State and learning how to play and how to win and how to think. And then my rookie year, when I realized I need to know every single possible thing I could know about our defense. And in college, I didn't have to know all that stuff to be a good player. In the pros, I did. And so, like, we get a new player come in. He might come in on Wednesday, and he's going to play. And we're like, dang. And so we're in the huddle, and he goes, Mike, what am I supposed to do? Oh, you're supposed to go in that hole. You're supposed to do this. You're supposed, you know what I mean? I could tell him anything. Anybody in our defense could tell that guy anything. A defensive lineman could tell a safety or a corner what to do. It's crazy, right? But I felt like, well,
It's
that's
not,
pro
yeah,
football. That's
yeah.
pro football. And that's the big difference between college and pro. Because in college, you got school, you got stuff you got to do.
Right.
But in the pros, you got nothing else to do. You got to just do your job.
Do your
So,
job.
Yeah.
Do your job, baby.
So
Yeah.
I enjoyed it. And then when I didn't know the answers, I would go seek it out. I'd go talk to the coach. I'd go talk to the players. I did not go into any game wishing I knew more information. There were different times when we would go out on the field and we'd be warming up and the other team would be warming up. And then they would do something. I'm going, dang, I haven't seen that before. So then I go in, I say, hey, coach, if that guy does this or that guy does that, what are we going to do? Are we going to still play that defense? And goes, that's a good question, Mike. And so we would talk about it. And so that's I really wonder what kind of coach I would have been. I actually thought that all teams were similar. I thought all teams were doing the same thing, but I don't think they do. The Raiders.
Well, they
didn't do
don't.
that.
That's why you got teams that win and teams that lose.
Well,
I used to say the great
teams that win that don't do that. I'm sure you do. Like they're just super athletic, or their coaches are really smart, really bright, and they have their guys doing the right things at the right time. And so the games might be closer, like 17-14 or something like that. But if you have a team that is different, like our team was, you'd have a lot of, low scoring offenses, nobody really scoring on us, not getting a lot of yards on us. And, it's just different.
Yeah, because you guys are, in a sense, all synced up in one. I started doing something with my volleyball team that I play music, and you can see just by having them play music while they're playing in practice, they start syncing up with each other through the music. That's why when you do Peloton, that's why you have to have music, because it has to sync everybody up. And if everybody's in that same stride, in that same mindset, in that same mode, everything becomes great because we're all in there. Same thing with the bike rides. When we were all cycling together, if one person's a little bit slower in the front and another one's going fast, we're going to crash. If one person is fast in the front and everybody's slow, we're going to separate. But we all have to be together at one to be able to move this big pack of people in these cycles to go. And something that you said that brings me to Nick is that you said, if you didn't know something, you said, hey, I don't know this, but I'm going to go ask. And in the military, Nick knows this. When we go up for promotion, if they ask us a question, you just say confidently, I don't know, Sergeant, but I will go find out. Am I right, Nick?
100%.
Awesome. Yeah, that's great, because you don't want to not know.
Right.
You don't want to not know.
You don't want to be the one out of the party.
The platoon sergeant will embarrass you beyond belief.
Yes.
Like it's not even close to being called out. I mean, you just be flat out just rung up, right?
Yes.
100%. You're in trouble. If PSG knows you don't know or you don't have an answer, there's no solution, you're in trouble.
Yeah. So, playing in the NFL was a great experience for me, because we did not think that way in college. Because, we have school. You got too many things going on. You don't have the time to study, but in the pros, you can watch film with 3 other guys, and you could you could be a linebacker and a lineman, and you could ask questions of each other. But in college, we didn't have that kind of time. We just didn't. And so even when we go to training camp before the season started, before school started, we still didn't have the time, because we had so many players. I mean, oh my God, we had so many players. And so, we're going to have, like, say, maybe 8 or 9 defensive backs. But in training camp, we might have 20. We had so many. It's really crazy. So anyway, and
you got to stand out. You got to stand out, right? Yeah, you got to stand out.
Well, you got to
be the person. And I think by you asking questions and being the person you are, and just being smart, you stood out. And yes, your coach at the beginning might have been like, he's asking a question again. But you know what? You help the other kids out. You help the other rookies out. You help the other kids that might have been embarrassed to ask the question, but you weren't embarrassed enough. And that gives you longevity because now you're the senior cornerback on the team. Hey, does anybody know? Hey, ask Mike. Mike, hey, we need to keep Mike. Mike needs to stay here on the team. I don't know what you guys need, but we need Mike on this team.
Yeah, and you know what's so great though, Mike, is like you said, well, it was your job, right? So it's so interesting to hear you say that because that's life. Once you get out in your job, it's you got to give it everything. You need to ask the questions. You need to know what's going on in order to become like yourself, like the GOAT. Like you got to do it, man. If that's what you want in life, that's what you have to do. You got to make it everything. And it's so great to hear you share this.
And when you're on a team and you have a new player or a young player, now, like say now I'm a veteran. Say I've been in the league now for 5 years. So I don't have to ask those same questions. So
Right.
I already know the answers, but I know that you don't know the answer.
Mhm.
I know you have no idea of the answer. So I will talk to you about it and say, hey, man, if you ever have any questions, ask.
Yes.
And then if you don't ask, I'll say, okay, so if that guy does this and that guy does this, you have to do that. I'll realize that maybe he's not thinking right. Maybe he needs to be taught, because if he gets in the game and he doesn't know what to do, it's going to be tough. I can't have a guy like that in my huddle. I'll be talking to him like, man, hey, you got the three, you're going over
here. I think that's another similarity between the military and football is in football, you have 11 players, everyone has a job and everyone has a position and everyone has a job that they're supposed to do. It's the same thing in a platoon, right, Nick? I mean, you can speak to this. Like you got guys that are door kickers, you got guys that can shoot, you got guys that do other things, but everybody has a role and everybody has to take care of their role. Or the one difference in the military is if people don't do their job, they don't get pulled out, they get dead.
Yeah, that is a huge difference.
Yeah, a little bit. Slightly different consequences.
But in a sense, like consequences, because for Mike saying like, okay, this guy doesn't do his job, you're giving up that touchdown for the Super Bowl, right? And that's on everybody, because do we know if this guy doesn't do his job? For Nick and for me, when I was in Iraq, we had Rango. Rango was a short Mexican guy. He's the lead guy. Me, I'm a trenches guy. So I'm the guy carrying all the backpacks. So I was about 260. So I'm the big guy. Then you have in the middle of the command. So everybody has their job to do. But in this case, yes, our version of giving up the touchdown is if somebody dies, that's our version of like, oh crap, like shit just went to heck. So yes, different consequences. But that's why I think when I was at Walter Reed and a lot of the NFL's players came to like say, we could talk and relate with them because they're training to compete in the Super Bowl. Our Super Bowl, in a sense, I always said our Super Bowl was going to war. And then when I got shot, I felt like I let the team down. I felt I let everybody down because I was supposed to be there for 15 months, but I was only there for 6 months. And then I got shot and I'm like, okay, crap. And all I wanted to do was rush back. I wanted to rush back. All I wanted was like to get healthy and rush back onto the battlefield, because that's what we train for. We train and train and train, and then we get the chance and we're out and we're doing it and everything. Trust me, it felt great when you're out there and you're just doing it. And then something happens, you get hurt, turf toe, some guy tackle you the wrong way, and then now you're out of the game and now you can't contribute. And that, could you talk about that, Mike and Nick?
Nick, you can go first. You can go first, Nick, because we just talked about this earlier today.
Listen, Mike's 23 out of how many? You go first. I'll slide in after the big dog.
He was voted 22nd greatest player of the top 100.
So I'll speak from my own experience specifically. So I played Division II college football, and And then I can tie it back into the short military career that I've had, and then as a civilian. So one of the things, Mike, that you said earlier, and everybody's kind of commented on it, is do your job. So, if it's football, I played defensive end. I know I need to maintain the edge. They're going to run zone to me. I need to lock out and maintain my edge. But I also need to know what everybody else is doing, because if I know that if I can keep my edge and I lock this tackle out, that if my linebacker does his job, he's coming down to fill and he's going to make that tackle. So not only are you doing your job, but when you're aware of what everybody else is doing, it gives you the rationale of why I should be doing this and why I can't peek inside. Because if I peek inside, I know that he's going to get outside, and the person who's supposed to make the play can't make the play. And then similarly in the military, if Juan's the big dog and he's carrying everything for everybody and he's not the point man, as he was shot and he was injured, now that puts more stress on that unit. So now somebody else is going to have to carry it, and they're not going to be as effective as he is. Now, is somebody going to step up and get it done? Without a doubt. But I dropped a word in the chat earlier, there's a synergy. And when everybody's together and everybody's doing their job, the synergy is this coalescing of energy, and it keeps building and building and building. So to that point, just like in football, the parallel to in the military, everybody does their job, but you have to know what everybody else is doing, because when God forbid, somebody does get injured or somebody is killed, whatever happens, then you can come in and fill. But it's an interesting parallel, to say the least.
Yeah. So in football, let's just say the starter gets hurt, and the guy who comes in to take his place is, maybe a rookie or a guy who doesn't play very much. He better know what he's supposed to do. If he doesn't, then our defense is going to be weakened. And so what I started doing was asking the guy, "Hey man, what are you doing? What are you going to do?" And if they didn't know, then I would tap one of the other linemen to answer that question, because he shouldn't be asking me. He should be asking the other lineman, and so then we get it and we do really well. And so I think that, the guys who've been in the military a long time, they know exactly how to help the other guys. And that's the plus, because if you have guys who like so many guys go to your team on your defensive line and they only been there 1 or 2 years, but it's their 8th year in the league. So they've been all around a lot of different places. They might be mixed up about what they're supposed to do, not sure. Well, I realized that. So then I would talk to the guy who I know on my team who knows the answer and what that guy's supposed to do. And so I'd ask that guy, "Hey man, what are you supposed to do on this?" And he'd say, "I'm not sure." I'm going, "Ask Tom, ask Mike, ask John," then I'd hustle back out to cover the wide receivers, because it's so important. I mean, I hated losing, man. I experienced losing in high school, and I had bad coaches on the varsity. When we would lose, guess what our coach would say? "Ben, I'm proud of you. I am so proud of you that you didn't quit." And I would be like, almost in tears because we lost. Then I get to college and we have a guy like Frank Cush. I don't know if you guys know his background, but it definitely has military background.
He was a drill instructor.
He hated to lose. And he would tell us over and over and over again what to do. And he would show us. And then if you didn't do a good job, you missed the tackle, or you had a mental assignment that you didn't do, he would really single you out, almost embarrass you in front of all the other guys, and put you to work to tackle. If you need to learn to tackle, he'd have you tackling. If you need to learn how to catch, he'd have you catching. If you needed to learn how to block and protect that quarterback, he'd have you protect. I mean, over and over and over, man. We were like going, "Golly, this is unbelievable," And so you have no reason not to know the answer to this question. You got 50 guys who could answer it for you. Don't keep it to yourself, you know, because you got all these other guys who are relying on you to do the right thing. So use that opportunity to find out and put yourself in a situation to do really well. And that's, by the time I got to the NFL, I knew all that stuff. You know, I didn't know it in high school because of the coach. When I was a B in the 10th grade, that guy was a great coach. We went undefeated and we tied the last game, 14-14 against Wilson High School. And the Bs, we were not varsity or junior varsity. We were Bs because of our weight and height and stuff, you know. But when I got to college, that was the first year that freshmen could play in the varsity. So that was the first year. Now all freshmen can play varsity, but my freshman year was 1972. That was the first year that freshmen could play in the varsity. And so they moved 6 freshmen up to the varsity, and I was one of the 6. And they put me at free safety. I had never played free safety before. I didn't really know how to tackle. I didn't learn how to tackle in high school. And so if I was going to be a safety, I needed to learn how to tackle. And so I got to practice early. And I would ask the guy to run to the right side, run to the left side. And then I would form up the other side and do all that because I did not want the coach to be mad at me and put me through a tackling drill. I did not want that, you know.
No bull in the ring, right?
No bull in the ring. Yeah. So I think that helped me. And then even when I got to the pros, I was really curious to how these other guys, what experiences they had. And my roommate was a guy named Tim Fox. I don't know if you guys remember him. He played free safety and he played at Ohio State. We would lay in our room and I'd be in bed and I'd just be asking him questions. And I was shocked as how much information he had. I was shocked at how Ohio State prepared their players for the game because we were nowhere close to that at Arizona State. I'm going, wow, man, they're at Ohio State. Those guys are way more prepared and better prepared than we are at Arizona State. And so I thought Tim Fox would have been a great coach if he had, gone into coaching, but it didn't happen. But our experiences, we need to really get everybody on the same page. And I don't know how coaches can find out that everybody's on the same page. But I think that when you're scouting and you're going to draft a guy or you're going to bring a guy to your team, you should know that before you even bring him to your team. If you don't want a guy on your team that, it's going to be all brand new learning for him and he's not going to, you're getting him because he's fast. You're getting him because he's strong. But he's got a lot to learn, He's got a lot to learn. And so if he gets in the game, he might have a ton of mistakes. So you might regret bringing that guy to your team.
So Marion, I want to jump to you real quick. So we talk a lot about NFL and military, but what, as that relates to like your instructors that you recruited and trained for Peloton and how those instructors created the success of your model. Can you relate to some of the things that you're hearing here?
Like 100%. And it's funny, thanks, John, because I was thinking of asking you guys about this, because kind of a lot of what we're talking about is the winner mentality. And, it's like, I'm just so curious, like hearing Mike speak, especially like about his coaches and whatnot, can a winner mentality be coached or trained or learned? And when you're asking about the coaches at Peloton, it's the first sort of level of like what's needed at that point is for the coach to want to change people's lives. Like that's the base level requirement. Like it needs to be a person who wants to change people's lives. It was really easy, as you can imagine, to find people who wanted to be famous. like there's lots of, especially, I can't speak to your all's industries, but like in the fitness industry, really easy to find people who want to be on the billboards and have their own, 1 million+ followers and whatnot. No problem. And lots of people who can do it, right? But what was the base level number one entryway was, do you want to change people's lives? Once you find that, and somebody who's been doing it, boots on the ground, in person, in real life, so they've got people whose lives they've changed. Okay, then it's like, all right, now let's see how we can do this in a digital space. Because to your point earlier, Nick, the training in person, there's nothing else. Like that's the base. Like that's it. Like, I mean, the digital space is wonderful because it's brought people to fitness who might otherwise never have discovered it. So in that way, it's been a true gift, not just fitness, but for health and wellness. But the base level, it's like, do you want to change people's lives? Have you been changing people's lives? And now let's bring that to the digital space.
Go ahead, Nick.
Hey guys, real quick, I actually have a National Guard event that I have to go represent.
Let's
Virginia
go.
National
Let's
Guard at.
go.
So I'm going to jump off, but I just want to thank everybody for including me, and then you guys for sharing. It was really cool to listen to everybody and your unique experiences. And JW, man, get us on again. Let's chop it up. I appreciate it.
You know it.
Nice to
Yo,
meet you,
let's go, Nick.
We
Thank
didn't even
you.
get to the stuff that I wanted to get to, but this has
I
been too
know.
good. So you just go with what you got.
Awesome. Thank you guys. Have a good one.
All
Thanks,
right.
Nick.
Take care.
Bye, Nick.
But
Well,
sorry, go ahead.
no, I was going to say, we definitely want to have him back on. There's some other guys that we tried to get on today that couldn't make it. So we'll have a round 2 of this discussion, put it in the schedule. Go ahead.
No, definitely. And I just wanted to go ahead.
No, go ahead, please.
Oh, I just wanted to add, because you guys were talking about like just how important in life coaching is. And I've been coaching volleyball for now 15 years. And yes, I think in a sense of like understanding the coaching staff. Like right now, I talk to my girls about, hey, when you guys
Any
are looking at
championships?
these-
Any championships?
I know.
Yes, 3,
Oh,
4,
hey.
4
That's
four
awesome.
championship. I got
Let's go,
one.
coach.
I got 2 and 2 private, 3 and 3 private schools, and then 1 another one. But yeah, I got some championship other than
That's
the Jets, and but how important it is to talk to the youth about maybe even going like connecting or seeing the coaching staff. Like if I were to Peloton, maybe it's a thing like, yeah, I see this teacher, but maybe I need to understand if this teacher does have, or this person or this coaching staff is going to take me. Because Mike, I listened to, you were with your roommate Tim, and what if you're at a younger you would have said, hey, let me find out how these guys coach and figure out if this is where I'm, because maybe there's another version of Mike that went to Ohio.
Mm-hmm.
Could be.
I don't know.
Yeah.
He's out there in
Yeah.
another universe.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
he's a Jets cornerback.
I'm so curious, Mike, about what you shared about your high school coach that was, just not what you needed at the time. And when you were in high school, were you cognizant of that? Were you like frustrated that you weren't getting what you needed?
I didn't get what I needed at all. I got really, really lucky.
Yeah.
My senior year in Los Angeles, they started a brand new city school all-star game at the LA Coliseum. And so my senior year, that was the first year, and they took 2 guys from each one of the city schools.
Oh.
And so they took me as a corner and another guy named John Rice. Now, John Rice was the defensive lineman, but he wasn't 6'5" or 6'4" and, big and strong and all that. But he was a really aggressive guy and played really well. So we played in that all-star game. And then in that all-star game, I played well. So I was the quarterback my senior year in high school.
Wow.
And so when they played going to that all-star game, I went as a wide receiver. And so we were practicing there, and I was practicing as a wide receiver, and we didn't have first string and second string or anything like that yet. Just guys would line up, or guys would go into the huddle, and then the next week, the week of the game, They said, okay, here is the starting lineup. And I'm figuring they're going to call me as the starting lineup for the wide receiver because I was faster than the other guys. I caught up more passes. I was, just doing a great job as a wide receiver. But then I realized, oh, shoot, that guy was all league as a wide receiver. That's his quarterback. I get it. So then I said, okay, so I'll just wait and see what happens. So that first practice, I hardly got any plays. And so I said, hey, coach, can I play, try to play the defensive back? Can I try to play the corner position? He said, why do you want to play that? I said, come on, I want to win. We're all beating that guy. He's not fast or anything. Come on, coach. And luckily, that coach was from my area. And he knew me. He knew me as a B, knew my junior year. We played him during my senior year. They crushed us, but he knew me. So he said, okay, we'll see how you do. Go over there the rest of the week. So I went over there the rest of the week. In one-on-one, I did really a good job. In team, I did really a good job. And then the coach said, okay, here is our starting lineup. And I'm like, oh, great. He didn't even call my name. So we had a scrimmage 2 days before the game. And in that scrimmage, I said, this is my only chance to get that starting lineup. This is really crazy. And so I really did my best in that thing. One play came to my side. Man, you can imagine what I did. I mean, I ran in and I hit that running back and I just kept going with it. And then right away, the coach says, okay, Mike, you got the starting lineup.
Let's go.
Yes.
And I was like, yeah. As I went, yeah, I realized I just took somebody's job. And then I felt really kind of bad for him. I really did.
Oh, no.
But he came over and said, congratulations, Mike, you deserve the job. He made me feel better. I didn't really feel horrible, And in that game, we won that game. Why? Because I was one of the corners. We would not have won if I wasn't one of the corners,
So that was the
first
moment. Yeah, that was yeah.
And we won that All-Star game.
Wow. So that changed the whole
crazy.
trajectory of your
I know,
football
right?
career.
That changed his whole trajectory.
And the history.
And listen to this. And so after the game, I was
Amazing.
surrounded by colleges. I was surrounded by them. And they were saying, hey, what was your ACT score? I'm going,
Yeah.
and I said, oh, I haven't taken the ACT. They went, oh, you haven't? No. He says, what was your grade point average? I'm going, why? He says, you got to have at least a 2.5. I'm going, what is that? He said, that's a C average. And I said, oh, yeah, I'm sure I got a C average.
Yeah.
I didn't know anything. I was totally unprepared, for college and for going to college. I had already made up my mind that I was going to go to LACC, which is a community college right down the street from my mom's house. And those guys were always going like the state championship, So I'm like, oh, that's where I'm going to go. And so Arizona State said, I'm going to come call you. I'm going to call you. I'm going to come by. I want to talk to you. Oh, okay. And so I ended up getting a little help from Arizona State. I hope I'm not going to get them in trouble. With what I'm going to say.
No. W chat.
They told me, they said, Mike, there's this book. Use this book and study this book for the ACT test. Don't take that SAT, take the ACT. I said, oh, okay. And so I forgot what the score was, but my score, I had a 29 on that. And I think the highest you could get was like 33 or 35 or something.
Yeah, 35.
Like that. Yeah. And so I'm going, wow, I could go to Stanford.
Nice work.
Let's go.
But because Arizona State was helping me and they, really seemed to like me, I went there. And I was really glad that I did. And I had such a great experience meeting guys from all over the country. That was an all new experience. And then they said, what position are you going to play? I said, I'm going to play wide receiver. And so I played wide receiver on the freshman team. They said, "Hey, Mike, we want to move you up to the varsity, but we want to move you to defense."
Right.
So that's how I ended up on defense. I wasn't really happy about playing on defense, but I wanted to play. And so I got really good. And whenever I got a chance to play wide receiver in practice or anytime, I went over and did it. But I did really well as a defensive back. And I realized that was probably my strong suit. And that's where I probably could help my team the most.
That's a wild story because it's similar to mine. Like I was a tight end in high school, and I was 6'5". I was tall. I had long arms, and so we were predominantly we ran the veer, and so it was all play action passes. So I caught a lot of passes because most of the passes were to the tight end.
Yeah,
Dump offs.
Well, they were like pop passes or quick outs or things like that. So I was the leading receiver my senior year. So I went to go to college, and they had recruited a lot of freshmen that year. They were successful at recruiting a lot of freshmen. So there was like 4 other tight ends, and so my freshman year I didn't play very much. And then in the spring, the defensive coordinator comes to me and goes, "Hey, have you ever thought about playing defense? You could be the 4th string tight end, or you could be the 1st string defensive end." And the rest is history. So yeah, it's kind of similar. Like I was not going to be a tight end. I was not fast enough to be a tight end, but I was fast enough to be a defensive end. And at 6'5", that's like the perfect height. You can knock the balls down, and all kinds of wreak havoc. And that was right when passing got to be more popular in football, because like when you were in high school, they hardly threw the ball at all.
They did. Yeah, you're right. They didn't. Only one school did, Wilson High School. They had a great coach, and they would score like 40 points a game. It was ridiculous what they could do. They were awesome. And they were our coaching staff for that all-star game.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah.
Look, wait. It all ties. Damn. Okay, hold on a second.
Mike,
If it
did you
wasn't
ever consider coaching?
Yeah.
Did you ever consider becoming a coach?
I coached youth football. Kids. I have
Oh, wow.
I have 6 kids, 4 boys.
God bless.
And I coached.
Congratulations.
I coached when they were playing.
Amazing. Lucky kids.
Yeah.
Lucky kids.
Yeah, one of my kids from Boston College, one went to UCLA, one's in college right now. It's crazy.
That's awesome, man.
Well, hey, the Jets need some we need some help. Listen, if you ever want to look, I'll be your scout. I can be a scout. Just hire me as your coaching staff.
The Jets traded away their best cornerback to the Colts, right? Sauce Gardner.
We've done a lot of things. You know the Super Bowl. You know the Seahawks quarterback. That was our quarterback. We drafted him, and we let him go. Because we're the Jets.
Wow. Why?
Well, because so we drafted Sam Darnold in the 3rd round.
No.
The 1st round.
Third. He was the third
pick in the 1st round.
Yeah.
And then we got him Adam Gase. That was a horrible thing. And then we got a new coach, and the new coach, we could have either traded for the Zach Wilson pick and kept Sam Darnold, or trade Sam Darnold. I wanted them to keep Sam Darnold and trade the pick. They went the other way. And I'm like, okay, well, I guess we're going to do a new quarterback. And now look at him. He's in the Super Bowl, and we're sitting here with no quarterback.
Juan, are you from New York? Why are you a Jets fan?
I'm a Dominican from the Bronx. So
yeah, okay, I figured.
I became a Jets fan because I had a gym teacher that didn't like me, so he said my team's name is the Jets because he hated the Jets, and then I became a Jets fan.
Oh, okay, that works.
They went 1-15 that year.
My husband's a Jets fan, and every year he's like, "I'm done. I'm not a fan.
Oh,
I'm done." But
so you know
every
it.
year,
So you're
yeah.
So it was kind of cool, just to tell you guys another story. So Mike played for the Raiders when they were in
Oh.
LA. And so the year they went to the Super Bowl, the AFC Championship game was at the Coliseum. And that was my, I think, junior year in college. And so I worked security at the game.
Oh, cool.
And so I was at the game when they played the Seahawks, and the Raiders stomped them. And there was like a mini riot after the game. And it was funny because they had to bring all the cops out on the horses and everything.
Okay, Mike, did you see
There was
that?
only there was one thing about LA fans, and then there was the LA Raider fans. Like every degenerate in LA was at that game.
Oh, God.
You know,
And including my family.
Oh.
So I had been there, traded to the Raiders that year. And in that game, Seattle had played the Raiders earlier during the year, and they had won. And so I had played against Steve Largent. I had played against a lot
Jim
of their
Zorn.
players. I had played against them in the Pro Bowl. They were on my team. So I practiced with Steve Largent. And so when I looked at film and I watched him run his routes, and man, he was just freaking awesome. But I had played him before, and so I felt very strong covering him. I can't remember what our strategy was. I can't remember if the coaches said, Mike, you take Steve wherever he goes. I can't remember what our strategy was to win the game. But I felt very comfortable covering him, and we had a good pass rush. And so it was ended up being a great game, and it was a good experience. And I still, to this day, I still love Steve Largent. So we became friends from playing in Pro Bowls, and I'd say we're still friends, even though I haven't talked to him now for quite a while.
yeah, you had pretty good defensive line like Lyle Alzado and Howie Long, and
Howie was awesome. We had a great pass rush and great linebackers, and our defensive coordinator. When he would call plays, man, I mean, we were coming after you. We blitz most of the time, and most teams don't do that. They sit back in a little zone, and the quarterback has all day. He knows where the little gap is going to be and all that stuff. But when you're blitzing, you don't know where the rush is coming from. You don't know who's going to break through there. And that really helped us, I think, win the game that day.
well, this has been awesome.
So
We're going to
good.
wrap it up, and really, really appreciate everybody coming on today. And hopefully, the audience that will watch this on our YouTube channel will enjoy some of these stories and relate to some of the messages and take it into their own life, and just live their life with purpose.
Mhm.
So I'll go around the horn. Marion, start with you. Final thoughts.
I just want to, first off, it's so great to be in the presence of all of you. I'm so grateful, John. Thank you for this. And, really want to just say that what a takeaway it is for me to hear all of your stories. And, at the end of the day, it really is just push through and know your SHIT. Like, just know it, man. Learn it, study it, know it, whatever it is that you're striving for, right? Know it, ask the questions. Big takeaway. Good stuff. Thank you so much.
Mike?
I'm on the same page she's on. Do not be afraid to ask questions. If you don't know the answer and you're afraid that that's going to get you in trouble, then do it privately. Don't do it in front of everybody else. But you need to know the answer. And you'll find that you're not alone. And a lot of people will be glad that you asked these questions, because they got a chance to hear the answer and know that they're not going to get in trouble if they ask questions. So it's a great experience. And that doing that, not only in sports, but in every single thing you do, whatever
Yes.
your job is,
Yes.
ask questions, and don't be afraid to ask questions, and your team will be one of the best teams ever.
So good.
Take us home, Juan.
Yes, I agree with both of your sentiments. We have to make sure that we're asking questions in the sense of not being afraid. I think nowadays you have with coaching younger athletes, where I'm at, it's just that they are afraid. They think that since we have these phones and everything and the internet, they think they need to know everything. It's okay if we don't know everything. It's fine. You don't need to have all the answers all the time. So that's why it's fine to ask the questions. You have to make sure that you can be proud to be like, I do not know. I'm all the time. I go in there and I say, look, I'm not the best. I love volleyball and I coach volleyball, and I feel like I'm one of the best coaches in the world. But I always tell people I'm still a student of this game. I know it to a level, but I'm always going to ask questions because you can always learn from somebody else. Even just here today, talking with Mike, talking with you guys, I learned that, hey, yeah, you know what? I need to get more athletes like this, more athletes that ask questions. Yeah, okay, you might be 6'7" and you're jumping out of the gym, but if you're not asking the right questions, if you're not, that's not going to matter. But if you give me that 5'7" girl that's out here just throwing her body and asking the right things, I'll take 12 of those, please. Give me a whole team of those kids. And that's, I think that's where, you know, if I were to leave anything to the youth and the younger people, because I think this feels, Mike, I bet if you can go back to yourself and give yourself advice, what would be one of the advice is probably ask questions. If you can go back to your younger self, I wish I would have taken that advice when I was younger and I was playing football, because I came in from Dominican Republic, started playing football, didn't know the sport, didn't know anything. I was just a defensive lineman. They just threw me in a line and said, go forward. And I said, okay. But then I started learning the game. Oh, linebackers get to call the shots from here. You have your cornerbacks who take care of the flyers. That's what we call them. We call them the flyers. So they take care of all the flyers and they're doing all the crazy things out there. The linemen, they're in there crashing. And then you got your free safety overseeing everything. So in a sense, almost like in battle, you have the guy in the front, seeing the front, but you also got the guy in the back overseeing the whole platoon. So that was me. I needed to see the whole platoon. And then you guys got the guys in the middle planning and making sure that everybody, the front's taken care of, the back's taken care of. So yes, just to end it, yes, Mike, yes, we need to ask more questions.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Please make sure you like and subscribe. And next week's podcast will be with the writer, director, and star of the movie Sheepdog, Stephen Graham. It's a town hall. Please make sure you join it. You'll have an ability to comment on the movie and ask questions. And we'll see you then.